the color of ginger is. I put the ginger down. I snatch up the ground cloves, and I go back to speckling in brown until it sort of looks like it's mostly brownish. I put that stuff down. I take hyssop or hyssop, either way you want to call that. You can get that at a health food store. It's not real cheap, but it ain't real expensive. I sprinkle that on there so that it sort of covers that. Put that down. Then I take red clover, and red clover is pretty neat stuff. And I put a healthy pinch. This would be equivalent of one, maybe two blossoms, along with some leaves, in on the top, and make the coffee. Now, the reason I use hyssop is because it was used biblically. If you remember, Pharaoh said that the firstborn should die and death would come down the street, and in the movie you saw this greeny kind of cloud coming down and people screaming and crying. Well, the protection for that was the taking hyssop fresh and grinding it to where you got liquid out of it and adding a little oil to it and putting it over the lintel of the door as a protection against death. Now, I don't know if you eat enough of it or drink enough of the coffee, if you're going to live forever or how that works exactly, but I've also found in nutritional books that hyssop is good for just about everything that you can think of in terms of ailments. I don't ever get a cold. I never get the flu. I got some bad habits. I smoke, among other things, but my wife had problems. She had an ankle that hurt. She started drinking my coffee with, well, actually, she started on tea, which I also have a tendency to make at times. I drink coffee for 2 or 3 years, get tired of it, and I go switch back to tea. All you got to do is remember what I said about the cloves. Whole ground cloves are an analgesic or pain reliever. You can eat it, or you can take it and mix it with a little oil and put it on your skin. And what that mix, what that recipe of coffee does is it gives you anti-inflammatory, it gives you a pain reliever, it gives you an anti-death, which is combined with some of the other ingredients. Basically, you're anti-everything at that point. The red clover is a blood cleaner, and a blood cleaner is critical for anybody's good health in terms of the fact that if you take any form of medication, and I don't care what it is, whether it's cigarettes, or you got to have your drugs, or your caffeine out of your coffee, it doesn't matter. The blood has a reaction to it. It also has a reaction to whatever elements you're in. If you happen to be outside and you inhale a lot of spores or a lot of tree pollens and things like this, you can have a critical reaction to it, actually. If you take enough of this red clover, the thing that causes you to be allergic eventually will quit. So now you know something about the cleaning of the blood in terms of red clover.
Yeah, and something I want to say about coffee, so that everybody knows, it's been proven, there's FDA studies on the internet for that show this, what they did back in the 90s. Coffee removes certain free radicals from your bloodstream as it goes through your system. So coffee is a healthy thing for your body, regardless of what the so-called experts might tell you. So it is a good thing.
Well, the other part of that is that particular recipe returns some of the sweetness to the coffee. Now, if nobody's had fresh coffee, they don't know what sweet is. If somebody has not had organic, fresh peppers, green peppers, they don't know what sweet is. Fresh organic apples are the same. They're sweet. Okay, the coffee bean is sweet. What happens is that they process it, and that screws it up. Now, if you can get, and you can, it's online, organic South American coffee. you would be shocked at the difference between what coffee that you get in the store tastes like and what these guys have. The roasting of coffee started because of the manner in which it was shipped. When coffee first became something that could be shipped overseas, it took them a while to get it across the ocean. In order to deal with the mold that was growing on it, they brushed it, washed it, and roasted it. That took the moldy taste out of it. Our shipping now is superior to that, and there's no requirement to really roast, but the idea of the taste of roasted coffee has been maintained. Now, there is a way, and you have to get in touch with culinaries in South America to find this out, to flash roast coffee. Now, what this flash roasting does is it gives you a portion of the taste of the roasted coffee with the natural sweetness and goodness of the coffee bean, both at the same time. And I had a cup of that, and that is, it's kind of like something you don't want to put down because it tastes so good. So, and yeah, coffee does do free radicals. Now, I take a variety of different things in terms of supplements and things of this nature. Most of them are organic. Now, the interesting part of all this is that people have problems with things. One of those is that they don't understand the difference between truly distilled water and naturally occurring distilled water. There's a difference, and that difference is that our form of distilled water is a boiling out process where you actually take all of the things excepting the water out of the water. That's distilled water. Now, the quality of distilled water is that it does not necessarily contain high percentages or parts per billion or parts per trillion, parts per million, whatever it may be, of the elements in which water comes from, which is the ground. The sweetness, you can tell the difference between good water and bad because they call it sweet water. A true sweet water well does not have very much of the mineral content people are familiar with in water. The other part of it is that it actually literally has a sweet taste to it. Now, like I said, this coffee that I make does have a sweetness to it. A lot of people who you normally would add milk and sugar don't feel the necessity to after they've tried it black ones. So it's up to y'all. I mean, according to taste, do what you want to do. You can add cream sugar if you wish.
One of the things that I do for myself, because I don't have access to the water that you do, and a lot of us won't, but one of the things I do when I'm getting water from the tap to brew coffee with is I ask Mama Turtle. That's what I call Gaia. I just call her Mama Turtle because this is Turtle Island that we're on. One of the things I do is ask her to return the water to the state it was when it came from her. So
that definitely works.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to put that in there for everybody who's worried about where do I get distilled water from. Well, all you have to do is ask. Same thing with the food that you're eating and the things that you're doing that they sell you all the time. Ask Mama Turtle or Gaia or Mother Earth, whatever you'd like to call that which is. Ask it to be returned back to the state it was when it came from the earth. And watch it change. I mean, take a glass of water, take a sip of it, see how it tastes, then say that very thing, put your intention towards that glass of water and ask the question, and then see how it tastes afterwards. You'll be amazed.
Yes, I proved that to a friend of mine that was here visiting with me that I hadn't seen in 12 years. And it was interesting that he said, I can't believe that. And I showed him how to do it again, and he said, you do that once and it just tastes like perfect water. I said, that's pure well water coming through an RO filter.
I use a British Birkenfeld water filter. I also take colloidal silver and other things. Let's see, what is that product? There's a thing called oxygenation that I highly recommend. If somebody's going to store water, use colloidal silver. This stuff's called Oxy Drops, and I can't remember the name of the stuff that goes in it. I'll have to get my glasses to see this.
While you're looking for that, I just want to say it's colloidal silver. It's in the historical record that settlers going west used to put their silver coins in the barrels of water because the silver would keep the water from going stagnant. That's in the historical record. Anybody can look it up.
Well, this is why that's why I recommend that somebody who decides they're going to, here it is. What the hell is it? Oh, come on now. I had it there for a minute. It's calcium chloride, I believe. Calcium chloride, no, sodium chloride, I'm sorry. Sodium chloride causes an oxygen reaction when the chloride is introduced to your digestive system. Now, this oxygen reaction is similar to an oxygen isotope. What happens is that your digestive system, of course, supplies food to your body. The other part is that it also immediately supplies energy to the lungs. The other part is that the oxygen within the food that you eat goes to the lungs so that it can oxygenate your blood. The Oxy Drops that I use are simply a solution of the sodium chloride, which is a mineral. And what's neat about it is that it causes your system to become oxygenated. Everybody has a problem. A lot of people have a problem with shortness of breath. Okay, the reason for that is we've cut too many trees. We do not have the fauna and flora to provide the oxygen that we should have. This is why I like having all these plants around. I got forests next to me, and I can breathe. And I'm at 2,600 feet, and I come from Florida. So you think about the difference. I went from soup up to the thinner atmospheres, and yet I can breathe better now than I did when I was in Florida. Well, two things. There's no pollution up here hardly at all. The other part of it is I got plants. Third part of it is I'm taking care of me. Nobody else is going to do it. So I figured it was up to me. And the idea of oxygenating water, I take a drink of water every night. And I will use a combination of the Oxy Drops along with the colloidal silver. And I don't use, there's something that needs to be stressed here. Don't go stupid and use a whole load of stuff. You don't need more than what is recommended. And my reason for stressing that is that colloidal silver, it can be toxic. Now, colloidal silver is exactly what happened to some of the old people will remember having milk delivered, and there was always a silver coin in the milk. This prevented spoilage. Same thing that happens when you add a little honey to something. Okay, so if you add colloidal silver, just a little bit, to your stored water, you can store that water for like 20 years before it starts getting bad. Even then, when you open it, you add a little more colloidal silver, it purifies it again. You don't have to strain it, you don't have to filter it, you can just drink it. It only takes just a few minutes for it to take effect. But the same sort of preservation happens when your body gets the oxygen that it needs. Now, due to the fact that you're getting only 20% of what you're supposed to get in terms of nutrition from what you eat, you add to it that the oxygen levels, and you can check this out if you want, it's online, the oxygen levels on the planet have dropped tremendously. From the 1950s until today, they've dropped some 30, 40% below what they were in the 50s. Now, the 50s